Look around. Something weird is happening. Your parents' generation put in the hours, followed the rule book, and somehow still ended up without a real exit strategy. They bet everything on the system holding up its end of the deal. Spoiler alert, it didn't. And that's becoming the norm, not the exception. And if you think you're immune, think again. The system promised one thing and delivered another. Boomers can't stop working. Gen X realizes they're running out of time. Millennials are drowning in bills that grow faster than their paychecks. Gen Z showed up to a party that's already over, carrying student debt like a life sentence. Every generation is worse off than the last. That golden promise of work hard now, relax later, it's evaporating. And most people won't see it coming until there's no time left to fix it. And before you click away thinking, I'm too young for this, stop. Because what I'm about to show you affects everyone from boomers to Gen Z, and ignoring it is probably the biggest financial mistake you'll ever make. Okay, so let's rewind. For basically all of the 1900s, retirement had a script, like an actual playbook that people followed. Step 1, get a job. Step 2, keep that job for like 30 years. Step 3, retire with a pension and live happily ever after. Simple, right? Here's what made that system genius. You didn't need to be a Wall Street expert. You didn't need to understand compound interest or stock market volatility. You just needed to show up, work hard, and not mess up too badly. The company took care of the rest. Your employer was basically like, hey, we've got you. Here's a pension. Here's stability. Just be loyal. And Social Security? That was the safety net under the safety net. But here's where the story gets dark. Somewhere between your parents' generation and now, that entire system vanished. Like, poof, gone. And most people didn't even notice it happening. Pensions? Almost extinct in the private sector. They've been replaced by something called a 401k, which sounds official but is basically your employer saying, good luck, figure it out yourself. Suddenly, you're responsible for picking investments. You're responsible for contributing enough. You're responsible for timing the market correctly. And if you mess it up, well, that's on you, buddy. Meanwhile, job stability completely evaporated. Remember how your grandparents worked at the same factory for 40 years? Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. Now people are getting laid off every few years, starting over, losing momentum, and watching their retirement savings reset to zero over and over again. And Social Security? That thing that was supposed to be a supplement? It's now the only thing millions of people have. And spoiler alert, it was never designed to carry that weight. So we've got an entire generation standing at retirement age with no pension, a 401k that maybe has some money in it if the market didn't crash at the wrong time, a mortgage that's somehow still not paid off, and Social Security barely covering groceries. The system didn't collapse overnight. It just quietly rewired itself while everyone was busy working. And by the time people realized the rules had changed, game over. Let's talk about Social Security for a second, because this is where things get really uncomfortable. Ask most people nearing retirement what their plan is, and you'll hear some version of, oh, we'll make it work with Social Security. Cool. Except, here's the problem. Social Security was never meant to be your entire retirement plan. It was designed to replace about 40% of your income. 40%. Right now, the average monthly check is somewhere between $1,700 and $1,999. Now, I want you to think about your life, your rent or mortgage, your car payment, insurance, groceries, doctor visits, gas, internet, phone bill. Can you live on $1,800 a month? For a lot of people, that barely covers rent. And we're expecting this to fund 20, 30, maybe 40 years of retirement? But wait, it gets worse. Because pensions disappeared and personal savings didn't keep up with inflation, Social Security went from being a bonus to being the only thing standing between millions of people and complete financial ruin. And here's the kicker. The system itself is under pressure. If nothing changes, projections show that future payouts might drop to about 75% of what they are now. Not zero, not gone, but less than an already impossible amount. Think about that. We're talking about people trying to survive on $1,050 a month in an economy where a basic apartment costs more than that. The real crisis isn't that Social Security is failing. It's that everything else failed first, and now this one program is holding up millions of people who have nowhere else to turn. Now let's talk about the villain nobody sees coming: inflation. Not the dramatic news headline type. I'm talking about the slow, creeping kind that quietly destroys your future without you even noticing. Here's how insidious this is. 30 years ago, people thought hitting $1 million meant you were set. Like champagne popping, early retirement, live on a beach rich. Today, $1 million is fine. It's not nothing, but it's not never work again money either. Why? Because everything costs more. Your groceries aren't $50 a week anymore. Your insurance isn't $100 a month. Your rent isn't $500. And here's the trap that destroys people. A lot of retirees kept their money in safe places. Savings accounts, CDs, low-risk investments that feel secure. But here's the cruel irony. Those safe investments don't grow fast enough to beat inflation. So you're sitting there watching your account balance stay roughly the same, while your purchasing power gets demolished year after year. It's like running on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up. You're working harder and harder just to stay in the same place. And here's where it gets really twisted. Taking risks isn't simple either. Because if the market crashes right when you retire, you don't have 30 years to wait for it to recover. You need that money now. So you're stuck. Save too conservatively? Inflation wins? Take too much risk? A bad market year destroys you. This is the impossible balancing act modern workers are facing. And there's no good answer. Here's something that should make you angry. This crisis isn't hitting everyone equally. Each generation got dealt a progressively worse hand, and we're only now realizing how bad it's gotten. Boomers? They had it relatively good. Wages actually grew. Houses were affordable compared to income. Pensions existed. Stay at one company for 30 years? Totally normal. Gen X watched everything start to crack. Pensions disappeared right as they hit their earning prime. Recessions, layoffs, and career disruptions became the norm. Many of them are hitting their 50s with basically nothing saved. Millennials? Oh boy. Home prices exploded while wages stayed flat. Student loans became a life sentence. The idea of staying at one job long enough to build wealth? Laughable. For millennials, retirement isn't a plan, it's a fantasy. Something that feels about as realistic as winning the lottery. And Gen Z? They're watching all of this unfold in real time. They're entering the workforce already knowing the system is broken. They're not asking, how do I retire comfortably? They're asking, will retirement even exist? This is why the crisis feels so overwhelming. It's not just that individuals are struggling. It's that each generation is starting from a weaker position than the one before. We're not standing on our parents' shoulders. We're standing in the hole they fell into. All right, buckle up, because this number is going to hurt. According to recent estimates, you need about $3 million to retire comfortably at 65. Let me see that sink in. $3 million. Do the math. If you work for 45 years, that means saving tens of thousands of dollars every single year, while paying rent, while paying for healthcare, while managing debt, while, living. But wait, the financial experts say, you don't need to save all of it. Just invest and let compound interest do the work. Sure. That drops your monthly contribution to a few $100s for 45 years, without interruption. Assuming perfect market conditions. Assuming you never get laid off, never get sick, never have to take care of family, never experience an emergency. For millions of workers, those assumptions are laughable. And here's the really dark part. That $3 million number isn't meant to scare people, but that's exactly what it does. People look at where they are, look at where they're supposed to be, and just give up. They stop trying because the gap feels impossible to close. The danger isn't that the number is high. It's that it convinces people they've already failed before they even start. For years, the advice has been simple. Just invest. Put money in the market. Stay consistent. You'll be fine. And for older generations, that actually worked. But younger workers today are looking at the market and thinking, this feels fragile. Why? Because massive gains are being driven by like 5 tech companies. Entire market rallies depend on AI hype and speculative growth stories that could evaporate tomorrow. When the whole system depends on momentum instead of actual broad economic strength, trusting it feels risky. And here's the timing problem nobody talks about. A market crash early in your retirement can permanently wreck your plan. Even if the market recovers later, the damage is already done because you had to withdraw money at the worst possible time. This is called sequence of returns risk, and it's brutal. So telling people to just invest feels dismissive. Because one bad stretch at the wrong moment can undo literally decades of disciplined saving. Investing is necessary. But it's no longer a guarantee. Let's talk about the expense that destroys retirement plans. Healthcare. Even with Medicare, healthcare in retirement is not free. Premiums, deductibles, copays, prescriptions, it adds up fast. A typical retired couple can easily face healthcare costs exceeding several $100,000. And that's without long-term care. Here's the nightmare scenario. Medicare does not cover nursing homes or assisted living. Those run thousands of dollars per month. One fall, one diagnosis, one gradual decline, and suddenly, your stable retirement becomes a financial catastrophe. What makes this especially cruel is timing. Healthcare costs spike exactly when your ability to earn more income disappears. You can't work extra hours. You can't switch careers. You're stuck drawing from savings that were supposed to last decades. This is why so many retirement plans collapse. Not because of bad spending, but because of bad luck. For older generations, housing was the anchor. By retirement, your house was paid off. Shelter was predictable. Everything else became easier. That foundation is gone. Today, more people are approaching retirement still carrying mortgages. Others are lifelong renters facing rent increases that don't care if you're on a fixed income. And even if you own your home outright, property taxes keep rising. Insurance keeps climbing. Maintenance doesn't stop. For millennials and Gen Z, this is magnified. Many were priced out of home ownership entirely. Others stretched themselves dangerously thin just to get in the door. Housing used to be a stabilizer. Now it's another variable that can destroy you. Here's where statistics become stories. You see it in people in their 50s admitting they have zero savings despite working their entire lives. You hear it in workers laid off in their 60s, forced to drain everything just to survive. And you feel it in the growing number of people in their 70s and 80s who are still working. Not because they love their job, because they can't afford to stop. Community living, shared housing, roommates in your 70s, these aren't lifestyle choices. They're financial necessities. And here's what hurts most. Many of these people didn't live recklessly. They did everything right. The system just didn't deliver. Now, here's where psychology gets dark. If the future feels impossible, why sacrifice today? It's not irresponsibility. It's a coping mechanism. When people believe that saving diligently still won't lead to security, spending becomes a way to feel control. Social media makes it worse. Endless luxury, travel, soft life content blurs aspiration with expectation. Credit cards fill the gap. The more you spend to escape anxiety, the less margin you have. The less margin you have, the more you'll see the more hopeless retirement feels. The more hopeless it feels, the easier it is to spend even more. It's rational and devastating. So what is the future of retirement? Here's the truth. For most people, retirement won't mean stopping work entirely. It means flexibility over freedom, part-time income, consulting, remote work. These aren't luxuries. They're survival strategies. The old model is dead. The sooner people accept that, the better they can adapt. This isn't about giving up. It's about redefining the goal before the goal redefines you. Those who can pivot, downsize expectations, and build flexibility will survive. Those clinging to the old promise won't. So here's where we're at. Retirement as we knew it? Dead. Pensions vanished. Costs exploded. The safety net turned into a tightrope. And millions of people are just now realizing they're walking it without knowing how far the drop is. This didn't happen overnight. It was a slow unraveling. Rising expenses, risk dumped onto workers, careers that reset every few years, and a healthcare system designed to bankrupt you right when you need it most. Denial won't save you. Pretending the old playbook still works just means you'll hit the wall harder and faster. Awareness is your weapon. Adaptation is your survival strategy. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think traditional retirement is still possible? Or are we all just delaying the inevitable? Drop your honest take in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes even a little, hit that subscribe button.